Thank you for joining us this evening. This is our community forum. It's shared between Urban and Civic, which is ourselves, and also the Residents Association, who have newly formed with the new chairman, Stephen. So just a few quick introductions. For those that don't know me, I think I've met most people now, but my name's Christine Littlewood. I work for Urban and Civic, and I'm the community development lead here at Wintringham. I'm joined by my colleague Paul Murphy. He's our communications and partnerships manager, and we're also joined by our colleague Dan Brooks, who's our development manager here at Urban and Civic and looks after Wintringham. We've also got Stephen Ferguson, who I know some of you will know quite well. He's the new Residents Association chairman, and also one of the topics that we're going to talk to and introduce you tonight is the Quality of Life Foundation survey, which is for all residents, which has just started, and Hanny's going to introduce that survey for you from the Quality of Life Foundation. So he should be with us shortly, so hopefully we can cover that for you as well. So without further ado, just to let you know that please feel free to put questions in the chat. Also would love to hear your voices too, so feel free to put cameras on. It's completely up to you. I appreciate not everybody wants to do that. And then sort of we'll have questions at the end of each topic if that's easier, and we'll try to get to answer those. And obviously if there's any other questions outside what we've talked about tonight, please feel very welcome to question us with those, and we'll do our very best to answer them. The session is recorded, and we'll post the link to that recording on the Wintringham community Facebook page, hopefully next week. So for those that can't stay or those that haven't made it, then we'll be able to share that with you as well. Okay, so I'm just going to let a few more people in. Also, if anyone is in the waiting room, guys, just for sort of Paul and Dan, really, if you just let anyone in as we're going through, that would be great. Okay, thanks. Shall hand over to Stephen.
So hello, my name's Stephen. So I think since March I've been the chair of the Residents Association, and I was lucky enough to inherit an almost new committee of people. So most of the people who served on the previous committee had worked themselves down to the bone and decided not to stand again. And so a new group of people stepped forward, and their names are on the screen. Now my name might be on the top of that list, but I'm by no means the most important. It's been a complete team effort. And I think during the last committee, I think Scott Jenner did a lot of work, heavy lifting for all the events. And I'm lucky enough to have a group of people around me who do most of the heavy work. So I'm here presenting this, but I'm the smallest part of it so far. So I'm the chair, Kirsty is the vice chair, Kavya is the secretary, the treasurer is Judy, then we have Chris, Gary, Kitcher, Maria, Mark and Regine. Though some of us have got titles and some of us don't have, we're just a big team and we all pitch in together. And so one of the things that happened when I was elected, without really thinking it through, as happens quite often to me, I was shocked all of a sudden by the number of events we had to put on and how quickly they arrived. So within a few weeks of being elected, we had to put on our Easter egg hunt. Christine, is it the next slide, please? Can you change the slide? I can't. Oh, let's start off by the so we've also had a website that hasn't worked for a while, and I think one of Scott, the previous chair's big ambitions was to try and change it when he was chair. We managed to get it changed in a few weeks because of the hard work of Gary and Maria. So we have a new Residents Association website which will have all of our events. I think the previous one was really difficult to keep up to date, but this one's much better. So if you scan that QR code or go to ourwintringham.co.uk, you should be able to see the Wintringham Residents Association, find out how to get in contact with us, and find out about all the amazing events and things that we do. So next slide, please. So the first event we had to do within a few weeks of taking over was the Easter egg hunt, which we expanded over the previous year. I think the previous year, some of the comments was it was focused on one area of Wintringham. So we put in 3 different Easter egg trails. mainly Regine and Kitty went out, and I helped too, putting out stakes on the Thursday before Easter, before one of the biggest windstorms in history, which blew lots of our signs down. But we had lots of young people taking part. We almost ran out of chocolate. We were lucky enough to get a visit from Peter Rabbit as well, and I think that was a fantastic event off the bat. There was 5 minutes when I thought that Peter Rabbit wasn't going to turn up, and I had a group of angry young children, which made me regret my life choices, because I thought I was going to get mogged, but he did turn up, and everybody had a wonderful time. Next one, please. So the next thing we had to do was also our previous Residents Association had a sunflower competition, which had been really well received and had lots of participants. And again, a couple of weeks ago, we gave out the seeds for the sunflower competition. There were some leftovers which was being donated to the school and to the Scouts. And so hopefully we have lots of residents now who are starting to grow their sunflowers. I live in a flat. I'm still growing my sunflower, and I'm determined I'm going to win. But hopefully some people online here too are also growing sunflowers. And so I think they're going to be judged in the summer sometime. And it's good to see those kind of big community participation events. Next slide. So I haven't got the best photographs for this, but this happened last Saturday, which for me was the day after an election. So I was very, very tired and slightly hungover. So this was definitely carried by the whole committee, and particularly Regine as well, who did loads of work. But Wintringham Day is an annual celebration of our estate, which is kindly mostly funded by Urban and Civic. And we had carnivals, we had bouncy castles, we had a bar, we had a disco, we had lots of saxophones as well. There's a saxophonist there as well. And again, I think that event was, seeing that we had only started a few months ago, this was the biggest event we had to put on. And we were very, very pleased to pull it off without any issues at all. If anybody on the call who attended any of these events and wants to feed back to us either here tonight or via the WhatsApp group about anything that they think can be approved. I think because we're so new to all of this, we've basically tried to use a template of the previous year, but as we go forward, we want to put our own stamp on these things. So we're happy for them to evolve. But thank you very much to Urban and Civic for sponsoring us and helping us with all the difficult stuff like the risk assessment. We have lots more stuff planned this year. We have Lunar New Year, we have Diwali, we might put on a Halloween event. I'm still kind of stressed by the fact that these things happen every week, but I'm very, very glad and confident that we've got a brilliant group of people around me who do all the work and let me take all the credit. I think that's all my slides, I think.
Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, Stephen said, obviously, please feedback to Stephen or myself. We'll try and meet, and I'm sure they would love to have more volunteers to help. We can never be short of volunteers. We will always be there to support in every way we can. But yeah, it was an amazing day, and the weather was on our side, which always helps.
Can I just say one more thing, Christine? I'd written a little speech for Saturday, which I never got to say. But quite often you hear people saying, like, this is why we can't have good things. Well, the community spirit on Wintringham is why we can have good things. Yeah, and I always say community is not a spectator sport. So anybody who wants to get involved and join in, we're always short-handed, and we're always happy to have people come along. And I think it's just a great way to meet people and be part of your community. I've only just moved to Wintringham in October, and I'm very, very proud to live here. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide, I think.
Do we have Hanny?
Yes.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, so I'm introducing Hanny. So Hanny is from the Quality of Life Foundation, and he's going to introduce what we do. So every 3 years across all the developments, we do a resident review. We did one 3 years ago, and we're ready to do another one, which we've just started. And this very much is feedback from everybody that lives here. And Hanny will talk you through a little bit of how that information is collated and how that's positioned. So I shall hand over to you, Hanny. Thank you for joining.
Thanks, Christine. Hi, everyone. Thank you for giving us the time to sort of come along and speak to you guys. As Christine mentioned, my name's Hanny. I'm a researcher at the Quality of Life Foundation, and I'm project managing this specific version of the resident review program. And so Resident Review is a program, for those of you who aren't familiar, is a kind of a post-occupancy evaluation survey research that we do. So effectively, that means we go to sites where housing is being built or has been built, and we speak to residents to get their understanding of how their quality of life is being impacted, both as a result of the development, but also the things that have kind of improved their quality of life, but also things that could be improved. And the idea is that we want to be able to kind of give a voice to residents who are able to kind of articulate what it is that matters to them, but also give a guiding guiding note or guiding direction for developers and people and house builders to make sure that they are also building things that are positively contributing to people's lives. And so we do that through resident review. So next slide. So yes, the purpose of today is for me to just kind of tell you a little bit about the survey, about the process. Again, I'm sure some of you might remember us or might remember the survey from 3 years ago. We were last at Wintringham in 2023, and so we're coming back this summer. I guess just to let you guys know. So maybe if we move on to the next slide. So who we are. So we are the Quality of Life Foundation. We're a charity with the expressed aim of trying to improve how we think about health and housing delivery in the UK, housing delivery, regeneration and development in the UK, particularly with a focus on trying to think about long term. So if we go to the next slide, the idea is that we want to build a system that improves people's health and quality of life and well-being overall, with a long-term view of that. And so we do that through a bunch of different ways. One of the ways we do it is to carry out first-hand research, as we are doing here, as we have done. We've had a partnership with Urban and Civic and been delivering these kind of post-occupancy evaluations for about 4 years, I think, at least, maybe 5 at this point. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to change how things are being done and how we think about housing and communities and neighborhoods in the much more long-term scale. And if we just move on to the next slide. So we think about quality of life primarily, we orient it around long-term outcomes, but we think about it through the lens of health, well-being, and social value. Now, these are maybe particularly some of these terms might be slightly more abstract, but the idea is basically how does your environment and how do the things, including your home and your neighborhood, affect your health, your mental well-being, but also what kind of positive social value can we generate by thinking about these things from the perspective of communities, from the perspective of neighborhoods. So a lot of the work that we're trying to do is translating that, translating the kind of the value that's generated from good quality housing into and neighborhoods into something that kind of tangibly makes sense to people as well. Next slide, please. So a lot of our work is governed by this quality of life framework. So this quality of life framework is sort of a list of ingredients. I always describe it as sort of a list of ingredients or a recipe for what we think is a good, happy and healthy community and neighborhoods. And so, these themes are sense of control, health, equity, connection to nature, a sense of wonder, getting around with ease, and connected to communities. Each of these speaks to a specific aspect of what we believe is important around quality of life. So sense of control is mostly around how safe do you feel in your neighborhood, how rooted do you feel, are you able to afford to be there. Health equity is much more about things that directly affect your physical health, so things to do with like the absence or presence of pollution, the opportunities for you to be able to engage with healthy food options. Connection to nature is much more about, obviously, as the name suggests, about nature, but also thinking a little bit more about climate resilience and adaptation, thinking about how, obviously, as I'm sure we're all aware, climate change and more extreme weather events are becoming much more common. So how are our homes and neighborhoods allowing us to be able to kind of adapt to that? Next, we have a sense of wonder, which is about basically the things you do for fun, whether that's engaging with culture, whether that's going out and meeting your friends for coffee, for tea, or for drinks, and some of the more playful aspects of living in an area. Next is getting around with ease, which is basically about the opportunities for you to be able to get around your area. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean, obviously we talk about walking, cycling, public transport, but that doesn't necessarily mean we want to get rid of cars. It's just about making sure that everyone has an ability and an option to be able to choose the ways that they want to get around with. So it's not about just having only cars, but also having a broad and easily accessible range of transport options. And finally, connected communities is much more about the slightly less tangible aspects of living in a community, such as like feeling connected to people who live around you, but also having access to things that are important, such as employment opportunities and so on. Those of you who took part in the survey 3 years ago might think that So these scenes might seem familiar, but we've actually updated them since. And effectively, that was because 3 years ago we had a version of the framework which was version 1.0. This is version 2.0, and the main difference is that we've realized there were some gaps in some of the themes that we wanted to talk about, and some things that we felt actually we needed to emphasize, such as, for example, healthy food choices is one of them, but also access to local businesses and jobs is another. And some of these will actually trickle down into the questions that we'll ask. So if we go into the next slide, just tell you a little bit more about resident review. Paul, I'm really sorry. I thought I was going to be presenting, so a lot of these are going to have to be just like it's line by line. So what is resident review is as the line says, it's an independent assessment. So we do this in partnership with Urban and Civic. Urban and Civic help us deliver some of the face-to-face engagement events. We work in close partnership with them, but we are an independent organization. We give independent feedback. Urban and Civic doesn't have any direct say over what kind of feedback gets given or what kind of questions we ask, and that's really important for us because again, our aim is to make sure that we're kind of pushing we're pushing the developers to be able to kind of deliver better housing overall, but also to kind of produce something that's useful and can stand up on its own. Next, please. And this is obviously, as I said, it draws on the experience of residents. So that's why we're speaking to residents first and foremost. We are doing our own desk research, which involves us kind of doing some background research around some of the context in the area, but primarily speaking to you guys as residents and trying to understand what has happened for you in the last 3 years since we've been here, but also more broadly, if you haven't kind of taken part in the previous survey, what does it look like for you to live in this area? And next slide. Well, next, please. And that really is brought together by our team. So as myself as a researcher, I've been working with the foundation for the last almost 4 years now. I've helped build a lot of this methodology, so I kind of have an understanding of what might need to be adjusted and what we need to do in different contexts. And then last note is that the output of this is a report that we produced to Urban Civic, which outlines it's a very sort of outcomes and recommendations oriented report. So we're talking about primarily speaking to kind of recommendations around like what can Urban Civic do based on the feedback that has been given. We really try to operationalize it. We really try to make that direct. And then obviously we do, well, I say obviously, for those of you who are not familiar, we also do produce local community feedback reports. So previous surveys, so these are pictures from our engagements at Wintringham in 2023. We had a few pop-up events, and so that meant sort of being in the area, sort of going around school or in some of the green areas and speaking to people, be it sort of kids or sort of slightly older residents and everyone who's basically in Wintringham. We wanted to get as much engagement with as many people as possible because for us it's really important that we get a good cross section of feedback from everyone. That means speaking to everyone who is available, who's around, and so I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but we will have a bunch of we will do some face-to-face engagement as well. It is primarily a digital survey, but we are working with local kind of stakeholders and partners to be able to help deliver some face-to-face engagement and paper survey options as well. Next slide, please. So I just thought it'd be useful for us to kind of just very briefly go over this because it might be good to just kind of give a sense of what kind of feedback we've received in the past. Paul, you have to just tap this a few times. So what kind of residents liked was the amount of green spaces, how well that biodiverse they were, the quietness of the development. Again, this is 3 years ago, so obviously things have come forward. The options around walking and cycling that were available, and a very strong sense of community too. And then also the kind of abundance of community events, which I think I'm really comforted by sort of seeing the presentation from the Residents Association at the beginning, as well as kind of a strong ongoing kind of part of that. What could be improved? So some of the things that we received were sort of an absence of local amenities within walking distance. Some of the equipment in the green spaces wasn't necessarily up to the kind of the wants or the desires of the residents. There was some comments around dominance of cars and just traffic and the kind of noise and air pollution that comes as a result of that. That I think was tied up a little bit more with some of the construction that's going on, which I know is still happening on site. And then last is lack of easily accessible public transport options. So this is kind of a cross section of some of the broad overarching feedback that we got. And one of the things that we do as well as part of this survey to incentivize you guys to take part, we like to use it as an opportunity to also support local charities and local organizations. So next slide, please. So last time we came, we ended up raising £132 for local charities. As part of the survey, for every kind of complete response, Urban and Civic and has agreed to kind of donate £1.50 for every response, and we have 3 charities that were selected that you'll be able to choose where your donation goes to, which then again goes to kind of help make sure that what you're doing kind of does feed into the community in some way or form, very directly and very materially through like literal donations. So as I said, last year we raised £132 for local charities. This year, you know, if we can get more people to take part in the survey, that's obviously more money for these charities as well. So that's kind of one of the ways that we like to make sure that we connect up with people. And then just a little bit more on the survey. So the survey itself, some of the questions from this year look like this. So asking you whether you feel like you can influence decisions around your local area, how easy or difficult is it for you to choose healthy food options and meals in your local area, and how well prepared do you feel your home is for hot summers, as well as whether your area is a place from different backgrounds to get on well to get together. The one with the asterisk there, that's a new question, and that corresponds more with the healthy food options. So again, just giving you a broad sample, a lot of the questions we've designed are designed to be answered in a sort of sliding scale, very quick way with like one question at the end of each section, each theme, that it gives you a little bit more space to kind of give us a slightly more longer answer. We're trying to find a balance between getting a really good understanding of how people feel about their quality of life, but also try not to take too much of your time. So that's something we're really trying to get a balance for, and that's kind of one of the challenges with doing a survey like this as well. And as I said, our engagement is, next slide please, our engagement is a mixture of digital survey and face-to-face engagement. Sorry, next slide please.
Yeah, sorry, it wasn't flipping over.
No worries. So the digital survey, I mean, this is from a previous project that we did for an earlier on as part of the process, which is why I look slightly younger on the picture on the right. Digital engagement, as I said, primarily the survey is set up on Smart Survey, so you'll get links, whether that's through a QR code or a direct link, which I've got at the end of the slide as well, at the end of this page presentation as well. But you know, the digital survey is kind of where all of it lives, and then face-to-face engagement, it will be how we support it, and keep an eye on that as we go along. So the survey launched at the beginning of this week, and we'll be doing our first we're hopefully doing 2 face-to-face engagement events. We'll be at the Wintringham Pop-Up Festival on the 25th of July. We're working closely with the Urban and Civic to be able to kind of figure out maybe possibly another day. We might also do door knocking or sort of pamphleting as well. So keep an eye out for that on any comms that you get. We'll hopefully let you know. And the survey will be closing on Friday, the 31st of July. So it's open for around 10 to 11 weeks, I think. And we'll be hoping to provide you with the community feedback, which is a small pamphlet, which kind of double-sided, which will kind of give you a summary in a similar way to I gave you earlier in this presentation around what you liked and what you sort of thought could be improved on. And that will be delivered in mid-September. We're running this survey alongside 3 others on different sites at the same time, which is why it takes us a little bit of time to make sure we get everything crunched and we make sure everything's kind of ready to go out for you guys. But that's kind of the timeline we're working to at the moment. What else? I think that's it from me. I know I've kind of whizzed through that really quickly, but the survey is live. So if you would love to take part, we'd really appreciate it. You can scan the QR code. That should take you to the survey. Or you can use this link, bit.ly Wintringham Survey 2026. An important thing to say about the bit.ly link, it is case sensitive, so it has to be uppercase W, uppercase S. Technology sometimes eludes me. That's all I can say. But Christine or Paul, do I have time to take a couple of questions if there's any? I mean, I can see one in the chat.
Yeah, just about sharing examples of the resident review collected being brought to life. So just kind of what was input from the last one. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of this feedback is put back in almost like a consultation. The development is still very young. So as we progress and go forward with how we're developing out and some of the community aspects, a lot of that is fed back in. So we obviously there was comments about sort of pollution and traffic and things like that. So we sort of take that on board and sort of do initiatives with the school. We sort of brought in parking restrictions down Duffield Road. So there's lots of different elements that we feed back in as we kind of go into planning for further phases. Wintringham Wintringham, as you know, is 2,800 homes. We're still very much a little way to go in key phase one. So we've got, I want to say, another 10 years. Dan, would you say that's about right, or realistically, or a little bit less than that? So all of this feedback is put in where there's green spaces requests and things like that. We try and include those in a lot of the design and planning as we go forward.
I think one of the other
I think
things
that's probably about right, isn't it, Christine? Oh, sorry, Paul, you go first.
No, I was just going to say, I think a couple of the one was about sort of security and safety. So we increased sort of police patrols, sort of have a look around, just to sort of increase a bit more of their presence. And also some of the feedback was the plaza was quite dark at night, so we've increased the lighting and security on there as well. And of course, now those apartments by Durkan are inhabited. There's obviously natural light or light coming from those as well, but that was a good example of what we did in reflection of the results from the last survey. Sorry, Dan, carry on.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say sort of it was about right what Christine's saying. Obviously, still quite a lot of time to go, and there's still a lot of areas for us to bring forwards and design. So this information is really useful. One of the points that we did have, obviously in the last one, was the lack of local amenities. Obviously, we're going to go on to it a little bit more later, but we got some good news on Friday last week that we had the planning permission approved for our some of our local centre, for some of our district centre, and we'll go into a bit more detail about what's going to be there later. But I think most of you have probably seen the lot of public consultation that's gone before this. So yeah, we'll move on to that as well. But it's just those things that we know when to start bringing things forwards and everything like that, because people now suddenly go, oh, we want this, and now this is actually something that's holding us back and something that's not great about the site. So yeah, it's all really useful information.
Yeah, I would say I think I just want to echo what's been said already, but to the residents who are in this call, I think that, like, obviously, as I said, we've had an ongoing partnership with Urban and Civic for a few years. So we've done this survey at a few other sites in addition to having done it here. And I do have to say, I think this is a really good moment for this kind of feedback, because it is, as Christine said, it's relatively, actually it is still really early in the development process. So there's still room for things to be implemented, whether they are in kind of retroactively implemented in this phase or in future phases. Obviously, I don't speak on behalf of Urban and Civic, so please feel free to correct me if I'm speaking out of turn. But I do think, like, feedback, this kind of feedback is really, really helpful at this point in time for developers, I think, because it really, as kind of has already been said, it is still kind of early, so things can still change, and that's something that we really try to push as well. So the recommendations are always really kind of much more directed towards that kind of action. But yeah, if there's any other questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat or say anything. But also, I think what we might be able to do is actually share an email address. Sorry, I just realized I didn't put it in my slides. Share an email address where you can just kind of direct any questions about this to us. I'll just drop that in the chat before I head out. So yeah.
Thank you. I've just had, probably, Dan, this might be something just to just in the chat about someone have sent an inquiry about commercial space and shops and the offices at Wintringham, but did not receive an answer. Can you send me more info? Do you just want to talk generally how we're receiving those expressions of interest, or what would be the best kind of route to us? I know it's still early and we're not sort of dedicating anything yet, but do you want to just touch on the best way that people can do that if they're interested?
Yeah, of course. So obviously we have the consultation website where people have been getting in touch. I'm sorry that someone's obviously reached out and hasn't had a response. We are trying to work through these things, but sometimes it does take a bit of time. And when we're pushing to get the planning and we don't know exactly how it's going to end up, sometimes it's hard to, well, I guess, allocate to any sort of different direction. We do have the 5 retail units and some office space above in the district centre, which is going to be looking to get move and bring people in at some point. What we are working on at the moment is almost I guess a sort of marketing brochure, which we're working on in the team, which is going to be sort of explaining what the units are, how big they are, sort of rough rates that we're expecting and stuff like that. And it will be launched on the consultation website a little bit wider as well, so people actually have all the information that they need. So at the moment, the information that we've been able to provide to people has been quite limited, but hopefully we're working on fixing that.
Thank you. Okay, great. Thanks, Hanny. I think I'll move on to if there's no more questions. So just doing a little roundup on community updates to share with you. Urban and Civic like to put on for you various events each month, and these will be a split of everything from sort of health and wellness to community engagement to cultural events that we work with the Resident Association and support them, and also health and wellness and various a different spread of events that hopefully everybody can enjoy, both for families and adults, if you're sort of new or old or just coming to the development. So that's just a kind of a little smattering of what we're planning again this year. These will all be shared on Wintringham Community Facebook page and then into the resident groups as well. So we can, and then some of them you'll get door drops as well. Just saying that from next slide. The next event we've got is Nordic Walking. So this was really popular last year. This is held by our partners, our sustainable travel partners. So they work with us on sort of healthy sort of lifestyle. So we've got a Nordic Walking session. They'll predominantly use the leisure route. And that's on Saturday the 13th of June, and the booking, it'll be a small group and there'll either be one main session or two smaller sessions within that time. So that's quite a nice one to do on a Saturday morning, and then you can book your places on that and they will confirm directly to you. Next slide. And the pop-up street food event is another one that's in the calendar. I think this will be the fourth one and it grows every year. So this is very similar to the community day. It's just a little bit more, there's more food trucks, which is great, and then we'll have music as well. It's a little bit more aimed towards adults. It's sort of into the evening, so although families and children are incredibly welcome, it's more the mix of different food trucks and a sort of street food festival sort of vibe, if you like. So that's one that everyone's welcome to on Saturday the 25th of July. Hopefully the weather will be kind to us again, and that's sort of like late afternoon, early evening. So that's coming up in July in the summer. Next slide. I just wanted to mention the Wintringham Wagtail Resident magazine. I'm hoping you all should have received this through your doors. This is, we do this 3 times a year, and it's basically a magazine that really just kind of gives you an update of what's going on at Wintringham, share some of the partner stories, updates on development and community, and shares some of the news with the Community Association as well. If you haven't received your copy, just email me directly or let me know in the chat with your address if you want to email me that. We'll make sure that you get a copy, or if you were sort of missed on the door drop run, but everybody hopefully should have received that. But there's lots of information in there about the development and what's coming forward. So we're trying to share with you on lots of different ways and platforms so you feel informed. And as always, please, reach out to us and contact us for any questions or anything else that we can help you with. Next slide. Just a couple of little things that have gone back into the community. For those that lived here a few years ago, we had a community lending library. Unfortunately, this was damaged quite badly, so we took this away and we've mended it and we've placed it back out into the community again. So it's just to say this has recently gone back in, and this is very much for all of you to sort of borrow and lend books and share, and it's very much yours to add, and hopefully if sort of just have eyes on it and just be treated with respect. It's also moved location slightly, so it's back on, it's on the Carla parcel, and that's on near Clare Drive. There's the green space in between there, so if you have a little wander through the Carla parcel, you will see that. Please feel free to use it, and I hope you enjoy it, and let us know any feedback as well. If for any reason you do walk past it and it has been damaged in any way, if you could perhaps contact Encore Estate Management, they will get that seen to, and we'll look at repairing that. But hopefully, fingers crossed, it will be back in the community for everyone to use again. Next slide, if there's something. So just kind of in response to, this is something we've, just because of the development's been moving forwards, we've occasionally referred to this as Eat Streets, but this is Firethorn Grove. It's basically a space where there's lots of planting beds, and fruits and herbs are growing here. There'll be all different things. This will kind of develop and move forward with trees sort of along an orchard side. It's not allotments. I know some of you have kind of asked if is it around allotments, but this very much is a community space, which you can enjoy. There's strawberry plants, all different various fruit plants, along with blackberry mint, rosemary thyme, and then we're hopefully a British cherry orchard will come forward too. You're very welcome to use this for yourselves, sort of take plants, nurture the area for some of you, if that's something you want to do. But it will, hopefully, it's just been opened. It still needs a little bit of flourishing, but this is very much almost like your own sort of herb and fruit and vegetable garden coming forward. So we hope you're able to enjoy that. This is access, if you haven't seen it, the best way to access it is through the Barratt Homes parcel. So it's in between both the Penny Green parcel and Barratt Homes along Firethorn Road. But please feel free to wander through there and have a look, and share that with neighbours, really. It's very much your space, which will develop as we go forward. Next slide. I don't know if that's... For those who aren't aware, we have food trucks at Wintringham. They are every Friday from 5 to 8, and on some Thursdays as well, also at 5 to 8. We're sort of bringing that in more as we have a lot more footfall and people are using them, which is great. These are delivered by our food truck partner, Off the Beaten Truck. So you will be able to see some of those that will be posted on Facebook as well, and hopefully they're shared. But you can guarantee every Friday from 5 to 8, we're hopefully there's a food truck down there on the plaza for you. And we're looking to bring in a dessert truck as well. So the more it's used, the more we can expand. So please feel free. And as some of you are aware, Melita, who does our coffee truck, she's also there on mornings, like Wednesday and Friday mornings, quite early till about sort of 11:30-ish. So she'll be there. Perky Beans will be there on a Wednesday and Friday morning on the school plaza as well. Next slide. Okay, thank you. So that's any more information or questions over community, please obviously let me know or email me direct. That's absolutely really appreciated. I'd love to hear from you. And then we're just going to do a little bit of a development update. So I don't know if Dan or Paul will lead this on, but Dan, if you want to sort of cover any updates on development. Sorry, just going back to the chat. There's a question on David Lloyd, but if that's okay, Martin, if we just kind of talk through the development a little bit, we can come to that at the end, just to see if there's anything we can answer there in response or in regard to David Lloyd. Dan, over to you if you want to just do an overview of where we are now with development.
Yeah, excellent. So at the moment we are almost done with a lot of key phase 1, which is a really big milestone, and it's sort of nice seeing the areas sort of really getting established and flourishing in between the parcels as well. So I'll just sort of run through very briefly where we are and some rough sort of dates that we think people are going to maybe be finished by on the house builders. So obviously Durkan, which is up in the northwest corner of key phase 1, they are really cracking on site. They have probably got another 6 months left until they are going to be leaving site. Might be a little bit less, but they reckon this year they'll probably be finishing up all their construction works. Carla, which is next to them, still on Cambridge Road, are now completely finished and left site. Morris are on their last few houses, so again they'll be going pretty soon. They will be starting on site at some point in Love's Farm, which you can see sort of the name of it over the road, because they're sort of going to be the first house builder starting over there as well. But that's a little bit away still now. Stone Bond, similar situation. Last few units, so they're pretty much gone, and Barrett are probably going to be the last ones to finish in this area. So we start looking at the district centre. Obviously, David Lloyd have been on site for about a year now, or coming up to a year. They are completely finished by the end of this summer, we're told. So they're going to be open and operational in August. I believe they've started their membership marketing, which is pretty useful, pretty good information coming out. I think the question around that was about discounts and whether it would be pay to play as well. I don't know that, unfortunately. This is sort of been sold off to David Lloyd. They built it out themselves. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how they are going to be operating, but I'm sure there's questions that we can ask. So I'm sure we can go to them and sort of ask the questions and see what that is. On the residents discounts, they have also opened a site on one of our other developments in another part of the country, and I don't think there was any discounts offered, as much as it was asked quite a few times. But unfortunately, I'm not sure that will be able to be happen on this. But again, it's questions we can always ask. The north part of the hub is now approved for planning, as I mentioned earlier. So we're really looking forward to starting construction on that this year. The idea will be then that we will be finishing construction next year, and the district centre, which is going to be the large M&S supermarket, 5 retail units, some office space, a food and beverage pavilion, which will be probably a sort of cafe, brunchy sort of spot, maybe a couple of nights evening opening if we can sort of find the right operator to be able to work on that as well. And along with all of this, some really large open public space, which is really looking forward to coming forwards. I know in the earlier sort of survey work there was a lot of comments, and we've had a lot of comments from people sort of recently about that. There's the sort of one thing really missing is some of this more local amenities. So we're really hoping that this goes a little bit of a way to solving that problem as well when it's open. I've seen someone say about the last parcel in the bottom corner, that's where our construction access is. So that one there, obviously not built out yet. That's where the construction access is currently. Obviously, urban civic sites in general on this site is a lot of work that we do go into to try and minimise the amount of overlap between the construction traffic and any of the residential traffic. Obviously, with a site of this size going on for as long as it does, it is a really important point. Once we have a new construction access further south, and so we can come up through the site, that will be then closed down, and there may be someone starting up there as well, but they'll be accessing construction wise through either the south or through that construction access. So again, we keep it as away from the existing residents as much as possible, which will be hopefully quite successful on that one because it's got its own straight off the main road. That's where we are so far on key phase 1. Like I said, we are pretty much there. Oh, sorry, that's a good question. Yeah, I've just seen come forward about the health centre. Sorry, you're absolutely right. So there is another parcel in the district centre in the middle. So that's what we're calling district centre south internally at the moment. We don't have a real question for it. So we have been working really hard trying to engage with the with NHS's sort of body, which is the ICB. We are actually getting somewhere with that now. So the design of the district centre south, which is going to include a health centre, a community centre, a nursery, and then it'll have some other uses which we need to explore and do some public consultation on, talk to everyone about what's actually needed, what's going to be in the community centre, all those items. That's going to be in the next phase. So we're working at the moment with the ICB, which is part of NHS England, on how the health centre comes forward. The strategy needs to be worked through a bit more with them, but that's something that's sort of the next phase. Once the district centre north is built out, we'll hopefully be rolling on as quick as we can into district centre south. Okay, yeah. So this is obviously the site as a whole. As you can see, it's 2,800 homes in total. I'm sure everyone knows that. We are currently around 1,100. That's where it is at the moment. So then Christine says the development's quite young still. It really is. You can see sort of this split of key phase 1, 2, and 3. A lot of the feedback that we will be getting from the quality of life survey on specific items, while some bits are, I would say, designed, they're not designed, they're sort of laid out from a spatial point of view. The actual detail of what goes into these spaces really can be influenced still, and it's stuff that we are looking to really try and get feedback on people who are actually going to be using them, because like the last thing anyone wants to do is go to a hell of a lot of work designing, building out different areas on the site and then no one uses them, which is just sort of our worst nightmare. So that's why it's really important on these surveys that we get as much feedback as we can, which we really appreciate. Paul, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add on to the those items that's normally covered, or if I've missed anything, but otherwise we can talk about other bits that are coming forwards in key phase 2.
No, I think you've got it all there, Dan.
Excellent. I think the next slide is really useful because it's things that are sort of looking to come forwards, and you'll have noticed that we'll have started some construction work on some roads in key phase 2. So the first initial road has come forwards, or is coming forwards. It's not there yet. They're on site working on it, and that's going to serve 2 more development parcels, which will be hopefully starting on site probably next year. So it's still a little bit away, but it's the first 2 that are coming forwards. I don't know, Paul, if you can use your mouse just to point at where we're talking about. Yeah, so those 2 at the top. Yeah. So what we also have, which probably will get a bit of consultation at the moment. We're working with the council to try and talk about it a bit more. So it's not an immediate, this is going to happen now, but it's something that we're starting to put our eye on as key phase 2 comes forward, is the formal open space, which is down the left-hand side of the page. So at the moment, that's sort of designated in our site as formal open space. It's laid out just with a few football pitches there, like of different sizes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that is what it's going to be. It's something that we're going to need to talk to everyone about. It may be more led towards health and well-being. It may be led towards sports. It may be some sports pitches like this, but we don't know at the moment, because we need to talk to everyone, talk to the council, see what's lacking in the area, see what people on the site want, see what sort of the general St. Neots needs is. But yeah, it's something that we've got our eye on at the moment, and I'm not exactly sure when, but we'll be doing some consultation with everyone as well on that. This is the CGI of the district centre from the north. So you can see sort of where the M&S is. You can just about see the food and beverage pavilion. There's been quite a bit of press articles and releases on this about how it's designed, and our architects have really done what I think is a fantastic job of trying to sort of give a bit of homage to the sort of Iron Age settlements, like the roundhouses and everything like that. Here we've got our sort of fins on the roof to try and sort of show that pitch that would be there in those sort of buildings, and also the roundhouse benches, which are going to be more sort of stone circles, which are also going to be pointing out, along with a sort of pattern laying out where the sort of roads were in Wintringham. It's not in the exact location, but it's showing sort of how they sort of laid out, and you can sort of see on the ground how it's all sort of linked together, which is it's quite a nice feature. So I think they've done a really good job there, and we're really looking forward to getting on site and bringing it forwards.
Yeah, the next slide I'm going to play is a video. I'm never sure whether the sound, whilst I can hear it, comes out to the audience, but there are subtitles that is just mimicking what the narrator is saying. So I'll go on to the next slide and I'll play the video. Whoops. That's the end of the presentation, Dan. I'm not sure if you've got anything else you want to say on that, or if not, we'll take any questions.
Yeah, there's a few questions in the chat actually, Dan, unless you wanted to add anything to the presentation at the moment.
No, I think that's everything from the presentation that I could think of. I'm sure I've missed a ton of things, which I'm hoping the questions will ask me and we can then remember. But obviously, everyone shout out at me if there is anything I haven't spoken about that you want me to.
No, that's fine. Okay, so let's go with when will the bus stops outside of Carla Flats on Cambridge Road be in operation? I don't know if you wanted the on the Cambridge Road. So at the moment, the buses within the development, eventually they'll be on a whole loop. At the moment, the buses aren't coming in, but the Cambridge Road, we've also got the main Cambridge bus there, so I'm not quite sure which bus it was that you're looking for. The ones that will come into the development, that will be with, I think it's County Council will sort of dictate a lot of that as well, with the general bus routes, but we're a little way off buses yet, just until the development builds out, because they literally can't turn around. But the plan is they will come in, go around the whole development and back out onto Cambridge Road again. But the main bus is still operating. It is the main sort of stagecoach bus, the 905, I believe, that is going from Cambridge Road. But yeah, that's something that will come forward. I know it feels a little bit frustrating, but yeah, that will come forward and we'll update as soon as we know that that's not directly with us. That very much is with County Council as well. And obviously once the development builds out, we'll be able to link those roads. Any idea
just on
when...
that point, Christine,
yeah.
what is obviously, yeah, like you mentioned, there's nowhere for them to turn around at the moment because they're meant to be doing a loop. So the road that's actually being built at the moment in Key Phase 2 is the last part of that loop. We will still need to have a bit of construction traffic for a little while on there, which may hold up some buses coming forwards. But hopefully, once that's handed over to County Council, they'll be able to sort of crack on and start working with the bus services on them. Sometimes, just from our experience, it doesn't happen straight away once the bus stops and everything are handed over, because it takes them a bit of time to actually plan out the routes, get all the sort of, I guess, get everything in place. And then sometimes we're told that there's not enough sort of demand for those buses yet. But obviously with the size of this development, it will be coming forwards, and we're going to keep pushing for it as quick as we can once we're able to hand over.
Okay, thank you. And Catherine's asked my favourite question: any idea when the new play fort will be built? So that's kind of exciting. It's sort of moving, isn't it? So hopefully, do you want to have any updates on that, Dan? I know it's a bit of a topic of conversation at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, that is actually a good point that I probably should have mentioned earlier, because that's quite a positive point. We are progressing with the final design points on that at the moment. So we're hoping to be getting started on site towards the end of this summer, which means that then it will be hitting the right planting seasons and making sure everything's established for sort of early next year, and then open by spring, we're hoping. So yeah, it's the final points of that are being progressed at the moment. And while that's sort of my hopeful times, we'll come back with something a little bit more concrete once we know, and we need to sort of program it out properly. But yeah, that's something that's definitely on the radar.
Can I just explain about the buses? Sorry, I was on mute before. If you can all see my cursor, this is the reason why at the moment these culverts are blocked off. So what will happen is they'll come down Nuffield Road, come through here, and then be able to go out through one of these routes here, depending on when that route is built. So that's the reason the buses can't turn around. When these are built, they'll be able to go through there and go through the development out that way.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, just going through. Emily, we've noticed on the school runs, especially in the afternoon, there has been a sewer smell by the school along Nuffield Road. Do you know if this is linked to the foul water pumping station? If so, do you know if this is going to be resolved? It cannot be nice for the children playing in the playground. Yes, this has been noticed and picked up, and I understand it's being dealt with at the moment. I think there are some works to rectify to do that. But yes, Emily, appreciate that. I work in that office, in the office on Nuffield Road, so I'm subject to that as well. But yes, I think I'm not sure if it's directly linked to the foul water pumping station, but I know there was some work that needed to be done, which I'm not quite sure when it's going to be finished, but it's very much ongoing at the moment. So I'm hoping that will settle down. But I will follow up that on next week, actually, or Monday with the team, and just to see when that'll be finished. But we're hoping that won't be ongoing for very long, if not already. Have there been talks of a youth centre, etc., on Wintringham? Yes, the youth centre will very much be part of the community centre, we're hoping, which we'll be bringing forward. We're engaging with lots of different youth groups, and also with St Neots Town Council on the youth provision there. We're actually running a youth event later this year. So yeah, absolutely, the community centre. We actually did a consultation, and we've actually done a youth consultation a few years ago. I'm not sure how long you've been on the development, but it's very much on the radar to include that, and so they have their own space as part of the community centre. So yes, very, very much on the radar, and we're hoping to bring that forward as those plans develop. Any plan on parking enforcement in Nuffield Road? School runs can be chaotic. Yes, understand that. Just so you're aware that it's an independent parking enforcement company that are looking at. They actually visited the site, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and were here for a couple of days. So they are doing ad hoc parking enforcement. So I think quite a lot of people have been ticketed this month, or certainly in the last few weeks. So yes, they are fulfilling that enforcement, and it really just is a reminder for people not to park there. I appreciate there's also a comment about the David Lloyd construction, with workers using the space to park. They have their own parking on their compound now, so they should predominantly be using that parking off Duffield Road. But I know it is quite full. It's not forever. I know we say that, but yeah, we're very aware, and we've really sort of watching that space. But as soon as people can walk to school more, and the construction's finished at David Lloyd, that parking will die down. But yeah, the enforcement company is active along that road. But I do appreciate 100% that it's not. It does get quite congested down there. Question from Maddie. Sorry, could there be a vote within Wintringham residents for what the green space could be used for, i.e. the cricket pitch common? We do have the path around Wintringham, but not a specific park area. I don't know if you're...
I'm not sure. Do you want me to talk about that one?
Yeah, of course. I'm not sure which green space you're specifically referring to, or just generally. But yeah, Dan, did you want to go first?
Yeah, of course. So on this one, it's not while we can sort of push to bring something forwards. The way sort of the process will work will be that we have to agree with the council what goes forwards. So of course we're going to be, it's not quite a vote, but we'll be doing public consultation, and in the public consultation we will be getting everyone sort of that wants to come down and sort of cast their sort of their ideas and what they want, and tell us what they want. They'll say this, this and this, which will then go into our public consultation, feed into the design, and we'll be able to go to the council with as much information as we can, going, here's what people actually want. So this is what's going to be used. This is what's actually going to work in this area. So rather than sort of a vote, I guess it's kind of a vote, because you are sort of writing down what you want, and the most people that write down what they want, that sort of goes forward. So we do need to get it agreed with the council. That's got to go through all the planning system and everything still. Sometimes I know that it's not just what's in the immediate area. They'll look and go, we have a real lack in a little bit of a wider area, and that's got to be taken into account as well. But yeah, obviously we put forwards what comes forwards in our public consultation. But yeah, I know what you mean about sort of the park and everything and all the different areas. There is more space, like a village green sort of area in key phase 2 as well, but it's just a little bit further south. So while there's construction traffic in the north of it, we can't bring that forwards yet because people would have to be crossing dangerous areas and things like that. So once things start moving forwards a little bit more, it's part of something else that can come forwards as well.
Okay, thank you. I hope that answers your question. Just a question here, sort of, it's actually for the Resident Association. I think Stephen's dropped off, but I think there are members just about deletion of messages in the Wintringham WhatsApp group. Decisions don't feel transparent or consistent, as similar messages seem to be treated differently. Okay, so just on that is very much the WhatsApp group is handled by the Resident Association. So as far as I'm aware, that we don't have any involvement with that directly, but I think if you wanted to feed that back to Stephen or email him separately or message him separately, they'll have a look at that. My understanding is messages will be deleted if they break any of the rules that are signed up for, but as I say, I don't know, to be honest. But if you feel strongly about that, please email Stephen, who's the chairman of the Resident Association, and maybe have a word with him, and hopefully that will sort of try and resolve that or understand why that's happening, to give you a little bit more background. Oh, okay, sorry, I'm just flicking down. Chris, yeah, thank you. Or any of the other team that wanted to answer that'd be great. Yes, no, or
Hello there. Can you hear me?
yes, hi. Thanks for
Hello there.
thanks
Sorry, I
for
couldn't find the
speaking,
unmute
Chris.
button.
Thanks for coming.
That's okay. Yeah. Just to introduce myself for anyone that's not aware, my name's Chris. I'm a member of the WRA, and specifically, I try to kind of keep an eye on the WhatsApp messages. So I thought this might be a question I could maybe field. Yeah, I guess all I can say is that we try to kind of be as fair and impartial as possible, and I appreciate sometimes that's difficult to achieve. Someone might feel kind of aggrieved that we haven't maybe that we've deleted something that they thought was okay or something like that, and we're still quite new at this as well, so we're definitely still learning. So yeah, I mean, any feedback is most welcome. We are going to get things wrong occasionally, but we'll just continue to try and improve, really. And any feedback we can get will only help in that process.
Okay, thank you. I hope that helps. Okay, unless there's any more questions, please put anything in the chat, or if you have a sort of a think of things later or tomorrow, then please do email us or the info@email. But thank you so much for attending. I appreciate you giving up your time this evening, and we hope you found the information useful. And as always, it's great to see so many of you online and sort of joining. We'll do one of these again in a couple of months, and we'll send out information for that. But thank you all very much. Good to see you, and have a good rest of your week, and see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye-bye.